Hi, Professor. I am Josmi Mol Joseph. I'm working in the group 5, and we took the article named Role of Ethical Culture. This is video 1. The article investigate the relationship between ethical culture and ethical culture strength and collective moral identity and their influence on unethical behavior and unethical pro-organizational behavior UPB in organization. 1942 workers from 96 units spread across 10 companies are included in the study. The results shows that while collective moral identity does not affect unethical behavior, ethical culture and its strength too. By investigating these links in a developing nation like Brazil, where corruption is perceived to be widespread, the study adds to the body of literature. It provides fresh perspectives on the functions of moral identity and ethical culture in various settings. Uh, while I saying the answer of question, this article is well done or interesting and useful. My answer is indeed the article is well written, fascinating, and helpful. It is thoroughly investigated and offers factual data regarding the influence of an organization, ethical culture, and its strength on unethical behavior. The findings are more reliable because a large sample size of 1942 employees from 96 units was used. The article also examines similar ideas in a developing nation, providing insightful information about the function of ethical culture in various culture contexts. For example, the study's conclusion that the unethical behavior is significantly impacted by ethical culture and its robustness, but not by collective moral identity, offer a complex picture of variable influencing moral behavior in the business. Then the second question is this article helped me to understand ethics and leadership more effectively. My answer is yes. The article helped me in our improved understanding of leadership and ethics. It draws attention to how crucial unethical culture is and how effective it is in encouraging moral behavior and lowering the immoral acts in businesses. Through an analysis of the relationship between moral culture and the collective moral identity, the study offers a thorough understanding of how individual and organization elements interact to shape moral behavior. Using social cognitive theory and social norm theory as theoretical frameworks aids in comprehending the process by which an ethical workplace culture influences the behavior, providing leader with useful guidance on how to promote an ethical workplace culture. The main factors of this article are the first one is ethical culture, and this article explained about how the ethical culture influences the employee behavior, establish the standards for proper behavior and lessons for unethical activities. The second one is ethical culture strength. And this article gives an idea of ethical culture strength related to the degree of consensus on moral principles and standard within a group and how much of an influence it has on lowering the unethical behavior. The third one is collective moral identity. This article examined the limited correlation between the unethical behavior and collective moral identity, which is defined as the common in the internalization and symbolization of moral qualities within a work limit. And next one is unethical pro-organizational activity UPB. It give the differentiation between UPB and observed unethical activity. The discovery that UPB is less negatively correlated with ethical culture than it is with traditional unethical behavior. And the final one is the impact of a national perception of corruption, on moral identity and ethical culture, with a particular emphasis on the Brazilian context. And the next question is the hypothesis and conclusion. Uh, First, I consider the hypothesis. The hypothesis are first one is collective moral identity. At the unit level, unethical behavior that is witnessed and unethical pro-organizational behavior will be negatively correlated with collective moral identity. In the social context, second one, the work unit ethical culture will have a negative correlation with both observed unethical behavior and unethical work unit pro organizational activity. When it comes to observable unethical activity at the work unit level, the ethical culture of the work unit will be less negatively correlated with unethical pro organizational behavior. And the conclusions are a decrease in unethical behavior is strongly correlated with an ethical culture and its robustness. The ethical behavior and collective moral identity are not significantly correlated. And the final one is the evidence suggests that that whereas an ethical culture discourages traditional unethical behavior, its positive effects on UPB are less pronounced and benefits the businesses. And moving to the next question, the article's exploration of ethical culture and moral identity in a developing country context, like as I mentioned earlier, the Brazil offers important insights for understanding the dynamics of ethics and leadership in different cultural settings. The article's insights regarding ethical culture and how it affects employee behavior and are extremely pertinent to the objectives of ethical leadership course. It emphasizes the application of contemporary business ethics theories to data analytics and their integration, underscoring the importance of robust ethical standards and procedures. The study's examination of collective moral identity and the physiological effects of a shared ethical environment makes the relevance of psychology in corporate ethics clear. This demonstrates how transformational leadership may promote an ethical culture and is consistent with the course's focuses on leadership and decision making models. Reducing unethical activities using a strong ethical framework is one example of how the results on ethical culture strength can be applied practically to address prevalent difficulties within the business culture. Moreover, the empirical data that is provided methods for assessing ethical leadership based on the measurable results. And finally, the focus on ethical culture influences the individual approaches to moral decision making, highlighting the significance of explicit policies and setting a good example in creating an ethical workplace culture. The course objectives of applying corporate ethics and social psychology to real world scenarios and data driven decision making are um, directly supported by this thorough understanding. And finally, the uh, the final answer of final question is the statistical foundation of article suggests that the statistics were handled correctly. The findings are more broadly applicable and because a sizable and varied sample of 1942 workers from 96 units spread across 10 organizations was used. The statistical analysis is appropriate and strong, and it took at the interaction effects of ethical culture strength, and collective moral identity. The study's utilization of recognized metrics and theoretical framework contributes to the results, increased validity and reliability. The study's conclusion are well supported by the meticulous and well executed statistical analysis and sampling strategy. This is the end of the video one.
Hi, Professor. I am Arjun Aji, student A. I am talking in the view of a leader. My first question is implementing the concept and recommendations from the articles. The role of ethical culture, the article, as a leader requires taking a few crucial like actions. So, firstly, I would like to talk about my organization must cultivate a strong ethical culture. The foremost foundation of a organization is culture, so it's very important. So this can be outlined achieved by outlining and conveying ethical standards and principles um, in real terms. So frequent workshops should be conducted, and training sections can also support the reinforcement of the new ideas. So and can create new ideals. So establishing a code of ethics, for instance, the staff members can consult or guarantees that everyone is aware of what constitute appropriate behavior. That's a new culture can be created by that way. And the next step, or secondly, it is crucial to foster ethical culture strength or the agreement on moral principles inside a group. Morally, it should be very strong, and it encourages candid conversations about moral things and it involves staff members in the formulating and keep of moral standards. This inclusivity fosters a commitment of moral behavior and a common understanding. Then again, going to when I answer the question, the article aid your leadership ethics. Um, I would say like yes. Regarding this article, greatly aids in developing me into a moral leader. Leadership is a skill, so it offers actual proof that unethical behavior mm, can be cured by a strong ethical culture. As I have already said, ethical culture is the main thing, yeah, under coming under this article. So leaders may foster a culture of integrity and accountability by appreciating the value and the power in an ethical society. Um, the result of the study, for instance, indicates that the leader who places a high priority on ethical culture can successfully reduce classical unethical behaviors as well as unethical pro-organizational behavior. Um, this dual emphasizes makes that moral issues are uh, woven throughout the entire decision-making process. And moving on to the next answer, the article is not just theoretical. Uh, it has a lot of application in real circumstances also. So its results have a strong basis in real world implementations because they are grounded in data for more than 1,900 employees in 96 units across 10 firms. So it can be considered as a real environment. So in order to prevent UPB, for example, leaders might use the knowledge gained from this study to enforce ethical standards and encourage and discourage UPB when faced with high pressure or the situations. So, this practical strategy guarantees that moral standards are upheld even in a very difficult or in a very uncertain situations. So then moving on to the next answer, um, the article provides a number of useful leadership concepts. It highlights the significance of creating an ethical culture, which may be achieved by communicating ethical principle in a constant and understandable manner. So, to evaluate and enhance the ethical climate within the company, for instance, leaders um, should conduct ethical audits on a regular basis. Uh, yeah, and this preventive actions make sure that any ethical concerns are found early on and default very quickly and can be solved very quickly. So um, furthermore, the emphasis on the robustness um, of the ethical culture emphasizes the necessity of agreement and group accountability. Um, this can be promoted by the leaders by supporting a particular leadership style and which makes workers feel appreciated and accountable for upholding moral principles. So always the workers should be motivated, enhanced, and they should be appreciated always. So this method improves dedication and general staff morale in adding of fortifying the ethical culture. Um, and the long-term advantage of a strong ethical culture, including as improved reputation, employee satisfaction, and less risk of unethical activity, far outweigh the early expenses um, and the objections of those who view these actions as politically or financially charged. So now moving on to conclusion. As a leader or executive, implementing an ethical culture involves creating a decision-making framework that prioritizes ethical considerations such as evaluating partners not just on financial benefits or a financial basis, but also on their uh, alignment with your company values, thereby safeguarding reputation and customer trust by avoiding long-term risk associated with unethical partnerships and establishing transparent reporting mechanism like an anonymous system that protects whistleblowers is establishing to encourage employees to report unethical behaviors uh, without fear, ensuring that potential issues are addressed before they escalate, or it can be easily solved without any further problems. So, balancing ethics with profitability requires a careful review of practices such as evaluating labor conditions before outsourcing and everything. So, promoting ethical behaviors throughout leadership involves conducting workshops focusing on ethical decision makings and thereby reinforcing the article assertion that a strong ethical culture is the key to sustain organization structure. So this is the end of video one. Sorry, this is the end of video two.
Hi, Professor. This is video 3. I'm Josmi, and here in this video, I am talking in the viewpoint as a manager, implementing ideas and conclusion as a manager. As a manager, I would implement the ideas and conclusions from the article by prioritizing the development and reinforcement of a strong ethical culture within my team or department. This entails setting a good example, regularly offering training on ethical behavior, and clearly communicating ethical expectations and guidelines. For example, I would make sure that moral activity is acknowledged and rewarded, and that unethical behavior is dealt with swiftly and openly. I can establish a work environment where employees feel accountable and um, driven to act ethically by fostering a culture where ethical principles are shared and upheld. Moving to the next answer. Um, the article indeed helped me to be more ethical manager by highlighting the importance of ethical culture and its strength in influencing employee behavior. Since a strong ethical culture has the potential to drastically lower unethical behavior, I would concentrate on creating and preserving this culture by consistently committing to ethical behavior noticeably. According to the discoveries regarding the limited influence of group moral identity, I should prioritize the organization's ethical culture as a manager rather than depending entirely on my moral compass. This method can direct by my tactics to guarantee that the team operates with a strong ethical foundation every day. Then, answering to the next question, the article goes beyond theory by offering useful advice that may be applied in actual circumstances. For example, it emphasizes how important it is to have a unified ethical culture to reduce unethical behavior and UPB. I would utilize this insight to assess and reinforce my team's ethical framework in real world scenarios, making sure that everyone is aware of and abides by ethical norms. This can be especially helpful when workers are faced with the moral issues, since a well-defined ethical culture offers a point of reference for proper conduct. Or also, for example, if an employee encounters a conflict of interest, the article suggests that the ethical guidelines should provide clear steps for how to proceed. This encourages accountability and opens it inside the company. The article also stresses that the organization's ethical framework should be followed promptly if a team member reports unethical behavior. By ensuring that moral issues or moral contents are resolved skillfully, this pragmatic approach strengthens the values of ethic inside the company. Next question's answer is, the article offers several useful ethical management insights. It demonstrates, for instance, how important it is for a group to agree on ethical standards, or how strong an ethical culture is. As managers, we can evaluate our team's ethical atmosphere regularly and take necessary corrective action. Furthermore, the study's conclusions that unethical pro organizational behavior is less negatively correlated with ethical culture emphasizes the necessity of addressing actions that may appear advantageous in short run but more unethically problematic in the long run. Although the findings are worthwhile, putting them into practice presents difficulties. Establishing and preserving a robust ethical culture needs ongoing work and dedication. When ethical behavior is not prioritized in an organization, it could be viewed as a naive or excessively utopian. It also appear costly when considering the resources required for oversight and training. Nevertheless, these expenses are overweighed by the long-term advantages, which include higher trust, lower legal risk, and a favorable organizational reputation. Then the next answer is, the article is still useful when, even without the full cooperation of an organization's leadership. Although full support would amplify the impact. I can put these ideals into practices as a manager within my sphere of influence by leading by example and fostering an ethical subculture among my staff. For instance, I can autonomously create moral standards, lead moral instructions regularly, and identify moral behavior. The concept of developing an ethical culture can nevertheless be successful on a smaller scale, creating a domino effect that may eventually affect the bigger business, even though wider organizational backing would improve these effects. Then, moving to the conclusion, the article provide a solid foundation for developing an ethical culture within the organization with practical applications that are actionable when approached with right mindset and commitment. The articles focuses on accountability and openness. For instance, can help managers make a judgment about procurement. In these cases, revealing personal connections and stepping back from a conflict of interest help avoid it. They establish a good ethical example. Furthermore, a prompt and uniform response to allegations of unethical behavior, such as bias or partiality, reinforces the organization's ethical standards and make it abundantly evident that unethical behavior will not be accepted. These illustrations show that the concepts presented in the essay are not just theoretical but are useful in the practical settings. And also, but these initiatives to be completely successful, the organization leadership must fully cooperate. This is because ethical behavior must be modeled and enforced from the top down by the leadership. A manager who is committed to ethics can nevertheless have a beneficial impact on the team and over time, even in situations when the leadership is, sorry, excuse me, is not entirely supportive. This demonstrates the article's significance in giving managers valuable methods to promote an ethical workplace, making it a helpful tool for creating a more successful, transparent, and moral firm. This is the end of video 3.
Hi, Professor. I am Fabian Albert from group doing the C part, and I am taking talking as a worker or a store member. And my first question is, as a worker or staff member, how might you implement some of the ideas and conclusions about in this article? Uh, and as a worker, I can actively support the development of an ethical culture in my workplace by upholding the moral standards of the place and principles that have been established there. And this entails constantly making moral decisions in the course of my daily work uh, and motivating the workers to follow that particular suit. And for example, I should reinforce the organization's ethical norms by reporting unethical practices through appropriate channels. And also, I can contribute to the establishment of workplace where moral conduct is the standard by accepting and advancing the collective moral identity and putting more principles like honesty and integrity first in my dealings with clients and coworkers. Can more help my team or particular unit to develop a common ethical perspective. And finally, I can contribute to the development of ethical culture by promoting dissemination of ethical standards and making sure management procedures comply with them. And for instance, I may recommend that the company offer more instructions or training sessions if there is uncertainty about it and about what circumstances qualify as ethical behavior. And I am moving on to my second question, that does this particular article help you to be more of an ethical employee? And I can say that indeed the article offers a solid foundation for comprehending the significance of moral identity and ethical culture in a workplace. And it highlights as the part of and every employee that plays in maintaining these ideals by showing how a strong ethical culture may stop unethical behavior. And understanding how moral identity as a cultive can influence behavior might help me to become a moral ethical employee by helping me match any values of that company. And these articles also give me tools to identify unethical behavior and act against it, both inside and outside of the company. And knowing that moral culture shapes behavior gives you the ability to act as well. And moving to the next question, that is, does the article help you to address real world situations, or is it too theoretical? And and the answer is that the article has a lot of application to actual circumstances, although it is based on academic frameworks like many social norms theory and social cognitive theories. It applies these theories to real world working situations. For instances, it talks about how unethical um, pro-organizational behavior and observed unethical behavior, which are frequent problems in many organizations. might be lesson. It can be also lessened by an ethical culture, and in realistic perspectives. The examination of ethical culture strength in an article offers practical advice for handling issues that arise in actual world. For example, uh, the article says that you can drastically minimize unethical behavior if you work in a unit with a weak ethical culture by making sure management practices are ethical and by making sure ethical practices or expectations are communicated properly through proper channels. And the next and last question is second last question is, are there any practical ethical performance or task related insights in the article, or is article is too naive, politically expensive, or unethical, or otherwise unrealistic? And this the article provides realistic and useful insights, and it offers practical methods for enhancing ethical performance in workplace rather than being naive or theoretical. The emphasis on moral identity and ethical culture as determinants of behavior has direct application to day-to-day work relationships. And for instance, the notion that an ethical behavior or cultural strength can indicate the probability of unethical behavior is a useful tool for evaluating and enhancing um, the experiences in experience that you have in the workplace. And the next question is this article useful without the full cooperation of organization leadership and management? And this article suggests that without the full cooperation of the organization leadership and management, efforts to establish an ethical culture may be limited or ineffective. And leadership is a crucial in setting the tone for organization's ethical culture, and the leaders whose model ethical behavior and prioritize ethical decision making create an environment where employees can feel encouraged and be supported for acting ethically. And without leaders cooperation, ethical guidelines and initiatives may be seen as mere formalities, lacking the authority and importance needed to influence employee behavior. And the article emphasizes that the creation of and maintenance of an ethical culture in an organization heavily rely on the active cooperation commitment of leadership and management. And as a co-worker, the usefulness of the article's recommendations is limited without this full cooperation. And leaderships set the ethical tone by modeling behavior that reinforces the importance of ethics throughout an organization, encouraging employees to follow certain suits. Um, and for example, a CEO who prioritizes integrity and transparency can inspire ethical behavior. But if the CEO engages in unethical practices, it sends a contradictory message to the employees that undermines ethical initiatives. And the effectiveness of the article recommendation is highly dependent on environment created by leadership and management, as ethical culture is shaped by daily practices, behaviors, and decisions, and made at top. Without their full cooperation, ethical initiatives may be seen as hollow, can lead to disillusionment and among employees, and a culture where unethical behavior is tolerated or encouraged, making the practical applications of the articles principles limited. And that's the end of the video. Thank you.